Okay. Namaste. I hope you can see my presentation and you can listen to me properly. Uh, Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the delay for like 5 minutes. We will start now. This will be the session 4, right? All the earlier sessions are available on YouTube, the first, second, and third session. So till now, what we have discussed is till we have discussed noble truths. We have discussed the basics, noble truths, and the noble eightfold path. We have discussed the initial three paths: right action, right livelihood, right? And one more was there. I'm just not able to reach it. So basically, the ethical things we have discussed, right? Now I come to the mental development, right? Mental development. See, the things is important thing to understand is for those who are like maybe first time they're doing 8 noble paths. There are 8 paths, right? And divided into 3 things, which is first is the ethical conduct, right? Which Buddha says that we should, for liberating ourselves from suffering, we should be ethical in our conduct, right? So we discussed in last session. Second is uh, mental development, right? Why mental development is necessary to achieve wisdom, right? Because if, what really can free us, what really can free us from suffering is wisdom, right? Seeing things as they are, seeing things that everything is impermanent, everything will ultimately give us suffering, right? So for that wisdom to arise, our mind should be still, our mind should be one pointed. Generally, because our conditioning is like that, that our mind is not one pointed enough. So even though it's like you are giving knowledge to someone, but his mind is not one pointed, or his mind is, a teacher is giving knowledge to a student, but the student is so distracted, he keeps on checking his phone. So he is not able to understand. And that is the problem that we are suffering, in these times that we are living in. We are living in an age of Instagram, 1 minute reels, 1 minute shorts, right? So what it is actually doing, it is short circuiting the mind. Our mind cannot hold attention for even small time, and this is harming. The kids are the maximum who are getting harmed uh, because of these things, right? So important is our mind, when it becomes still, only then it can perceive the wisdom, right? It can see things as they are. So second element is mental development. That means development of our mind, training of our mind, right? Okay, so as I discussed, wisdom is the primary tool for freeing us. Liberation we can get by wisdom, but the penetrating vision, the one pointedness that is needed for wisdom, it is only by mental development. Now what it comprises of is 3 things: right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, right? So noble eightfold path, 3 parts we have already discussed in the last session. The recording is also available, you can check that. Now we come to 4, 5, 6, and now in this session we'll only discuss right effort and right mindfulness, because they are actually a very lengthy, right? So right concentration, we'll leave it for later, next session. And these are actually, especially the right mindfulness, it is the crux of the entire teaching. So when we say the entire teaching of the Buddha can be summarized in 4 noble truths and the noble eightfold path, even in the noble eightfold path and the 4 noble truths, right mindfulness is like, it's even, if you say laser pointed, this is the one thing that is the most critical thing. If you do that, then all the other things we can manage, right? So we start with right effort. Anyone has any questions, please feel free to share in the chat or ask me to unmute, right? I'll unmute you. Okay, those, welcome to those who are joining through YouTube, and those also who are watching the recording. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, uh, please also give me feedback on whether you find it like easy or difficult. My intention is to make it easy, right? I am also learning, right? So my intention is to make things easier. Buddha's teachings are a bit complicated, and uh, people, the scholars, they complicate it uh, 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 because they are scholars, right? But we are lay people. So I'm trying to simplify it, but I don't want to oversimplify also, right? Certain things you cannot oversimplify, right? But give me feedback on how I'm going and how I can improve, right? Because my intention is to do these sessions more and more, like maybe 6, 7 sessions, and then again start from session 1. Yes, I will just unmute you, Arthas Gupta. Yes. Can you please ask? Are
Yes,
you able to?
yes. Good evening,
Good
Abhinavji.
evening. Good evening.
Yeah, yeah. The chat option is disabled. Can't understand why. That's why I
Oh,
cannot just write it.
okay. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Yes, I've
yeah.
enabled it by
Okay,
mistake.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. You have a question to ask?
No, not now.
Yeah. Let me. Okay. Fine. Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Fine. I'll just lower the hand. Okay. Fine. So right effort is basically, see, what Buddha says is the mind. Our mind has energy. It's like mind energy. You sit for some like 1 hour, and I tell you to just think, right? So you have to just think. Or some people, they think the whole day, they worry the whole day. What happens by the end of the day, or by the end of that 1 hour, you'll feel drained. So our mind has energy. Now that energy can appear in wholesome or unwholesome forms, right? In wholesome form, that means we can exert the energy of our mind in a wholesome form, which is like compassion, generosity, kindness, concentration, understanding, right? These are the wholesome forms where we can expend our energy, right? And then there are unwholesome forms, right? Desire, aggression, violence, lust, ambition, right? Now, till now we've been unconscious that uh, uh, what we were driven by was these latent tendencies of desire, aggression, lust. They were actually driving our mind energy. Now, the what Buddha says, right effort. So this is both places. If you see, effort is involved. In the wholesome form also we involve effort, and unwholesome form also we involve effort. What is right effort? Effort is that, okay, I have limited mind energy, thought energy. I will exert this thought energy in a wholesome form of energy. That means whatever limit. So it's like we say, it's like said that we think 80,000 thoughts per day, or I don't know whether that statistic is true, but yes, it may be true, right? But that 80,000 thoughts, if we are actually even thinking, then might as well think good thoughts. So even if you are like sitting, instead of this thing coming in your mind that someone, you know, did some wrong to you, what we have to just change our thinking, right? This is discussed more in the right thought that will come. Right thinking will also come later. All these, actually, if you see all these paths, they are all interconnected. So you have to just get that message, right? Because if we do one thing, then we do everything, right? So exertion on the wholesome, that means think thoughts of generosity, think thoughts of kindness, think thoughts of concentration. Even by doing that, we are actually creating the conditions for liberating ourselves from suffering, right? So a lot of suffering, what we have created for ourselves is through the wrong thinking. And wrong thinking becomes wrong action becomes wrong habits, and this is how our lives, all the lives have been, materialized. And so what, again, I get reminded of the Buddha's saying is, what is more, is it the water of the four oceans, or the tears in all the lives that you have, expended, right? So now, so what now, one more thing is, this is where the critical difference lies. See, uh, you do all the right thinking, you do all the right actions, all the kindness, you do the random acts of kindness and everything, right? But then, if you don't have the right understanding and the right view, which we'll discuss later on, right understanding is seeing things as they are, that everything is impermanent. All what we do, all the good things we do, good things we think, that is also impermanent, right? Only and only when we do it with right understanding and right view, then we will achieve liberation. Otherwise, what will happen is, you do all the right kinds of action, and this is why souls get stuck in the higher realms also. That means you do all the good things, you do all the charity, you think all the good thoughts, and you pray and you do everything, but then you do it with an ego, with the intention that you should get something. And then because of that, the soul moves to the higher realms of existence. There also it is impermanent. When the merit is, the soul gets merit, right? And then it comes back to the lower realms, right? So the important is, if we want to, Buddha says that if we want to liberate, this right effort needs to be exerted along with right understanding. That means seeing everything is imperfect, impermanent, Impermanent. Everything is impermanent. It's like in Hindi, neki kar darya mein dalta hai types thing, right? So just do it and don't expect anything from it, right? We will come in right understanding and right view. We will understand more on, on that particular topic. Okay, now why right effort is because Buddha has stressed the need for effort. If you want to liberate from this cycle of birth and death, right, which is our end goal, right, nirvana, end goal, basically exertion, we have to devote effort, right? And Buddha says that each person has to work out his or her own deliverance. Buddha can only point to the path, not make the effort for us, right? He can only guide us in that direction. So the effort, the right effort that we have to exert, right? In what right effort? Thinking in the right way, generosity, self-discipline, kindness, right? Making our mind exert in the wholesome directions, not the unwholesome. So what we do is we start with an unwholesome mind. Our mind is like all filled with, aggression, anger, lust, hatred, right? We start from there, and then our objective is to move to a pure mind, a mind which is filled with generosity and kindness and compassion. This is the effort that we need to do. So I was reading Bhikkhu Bodhi's work on this, and he says that task is difficult but not impossible, because Buddha and all the people who have followed his work, they've got liberated. They are like a kind of a example for us. And we need to remember that we have the energy of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, right, to support us. People who are on the same path, right? We have the energy of the Sangha, right? Especially the Sangha to support. That's why it's very, very important to be in a spiritual community of people who are on the same path. Because if you are feeling down sometimes, then even if you come in some kind of a satsang, if you can say, or a gathering like this where people meditate together, right, then you'll automatically, your state of mind changes. Okay, what right effort comprises of, right? It comprises of 4 endeavors. 4 endeavors is, first endeavor is prevent the arising of unarisen wholesome states. That means, see, what happens is all this aggression, anger, lust, desire, where are these? These are not outside. These are in our own mind. All the suffering, that's why I always say, all the suffering is in our own mind only, right? It's all the garbage is in our own mind. So the very popular knowledge is that we have a conscious mind and we have an unconscious mind, right? Or you can say subconscious, right? Some people add a layer of subconscious, but it's basically, I'm a hypnotherapist also, there is a conscious mind and then there is an unconscious mind. So in that unconscious mind, we have all the seeds of all these things, of hatred, confusion, right? And they are just stored in the seed form. So very, very important thing, please note, is that we need to prevent the arising of unarisen wholesome states, right? If aggression is lying deep in our subconscious, we will not, watch a movie which contains violence, which may arise those states in us. Now, this is where we need to see, understand this. Your question will be that, okay, if we don't let the seeds arise, then the seeds, what will happen to them? See, the intention here is that if you want to fight with an enemy, right? So these aggression, these states are like enemies, right? If you want to fight with a very powerful enemy, you don't go empty-handed in the without weapons in the battle, right? So what we have to do is that we have to cultivate mindfulness. We have to do our meditation. We have to strengthen the energy of mindfulness in us and reach at a stage where once we reach that state, then even if the unwholesome state comes up, then we will be able to better fight with it. So now that our energy is not that much evolved, our first task is not to, we'll discuss all the 4 things. Our first task is not to allow those unarisen states to arise. That is the wise thing to do. Like, for example, if there's a lot of lust and in you, and that lust prevents you from doing your spiritual work, and you watch a film, a movie which has lust, then what will happen is the lust will arise even more. So we have to be smart enough not to consume those things which can allow these seeds to sprout. So that's the first. Second is abandon the unwholesome states that have already arisen, right? So if anger has already arisen in me, I will abandon. The Buddha states certain things what you can do to prevent those states. What will happen to the unwholesome seeds which we do not allow them to arise? So the unwholesome seeds which we do not allow to arise will stay there in the subconscious. So it's like a sea. It's just like the sea. They will stay in the seabed. They will not arise, right? We will allow them to stay where they are, not, and at the same time uh, keep increasing our energy of mindfulness. So see, understand one thing. In our unconscious mind, there are seeds of anger also, and in our unconscious mind, there are seeds of mindfulness and compassion also, right? What we have to continuously do is to water the seeds of mindfulness and compassion and love, right? So that the seeds become so strong that if anger arises in us, then we can call upon that energy of mindfulness or love to take care of that uh, anger, right? You cannot fight anger. See, the thing is that through deep meditation, through deep mindfulness practice, what can happen is that the seeds can, it's like the seed form, it is there, but then the seeds just lose their ability to sprout. That is also there. If your mindfulness practice is so deep, the seeds that are there, you are actually not allowing them to sprout. At one point they will just roast, right? They will just roast, they will not sprout. But then for that, our mindfulness, our meditation practice has to be really, really deep. Our mind should be so full of the energy of mindfulness that it actually makes those seeds kind of not capable of sprouting, right? So for that, our practice has to be deep. So the answer to your question is yes, if our practice is very deep, right? Okay, so prevent the arising of unarisen wholesome states, abandon the wholesome states that have already arisen. Buddha has given guidance on that. Arouse wholesome states. Wholesome states means all the positive conditions, generosity, and so we have to work consciously at arousing those kind of states in us, right? Thank you so much. Thank you. Arousing, consciously working at arousing, like kindness, constantly generating. So if I'm like just sitting, I will just try, okay, if I have to think, then I'll think something kind. I'll maybe say a prayer that may all beings be happy, may all beings be free of suffering, right? Just as I think we discussed in the last session also. And then the perfect wholesome states that have already arisen, like if your mind right now, compassion is there or kindness is there, then you have to try and maintain that. Keep the mind focused on compassion, right? So these are the 4 ways. Now just quickly we will just understand. Actually, right effort itself is quite long. So prevent the arising of honor. So there are 5 hindrances on the path of liberation. Sensual desire, like, right, sexual desire, lust, ill will, thinking negatively. See, our mind always goes in the negative, right? About people, about their imperfections, and we think ill will, right? Sometimes if so it has happened to me. When I became more and more conscious, I started realizing, yeah, there is no point in gossiping about others and gossiping about their imperfections, because ultimately my own peace of mind is getting disturbed, right? We all experience that. Then these are the natural tendencies of our mind. Our mind, left to itself, will go in sexual desires, ill will, dullness and drowsiness, laziness, drowsiness, right? Doesn't want to do anything, right? Restlessness, or it is going into restlessness and worry. And the 5th is doubt. These 5 are the hindrances to the path of liberation. If we want to liberate ourselves, then we'll have to master all of these. Master in the sense, then, is that we do not allow them to rule ourselves. right? They can arise, but our mindfulness, the energy of mindfulness that we have is so strong that we can subdue them, right? They do not take over us, right? So hindrances lie deep within us, dormant, right? These things, right? They are dormant in us and they get activated through sensory inputs, right? For example, sub ill will, right? Someone says about someone, right? You just hear a gossip about someone and mind automatically creates a ill will, right? Arre, ye to aisa hi hai, everything is like this and all, right? So these hindrances, they get activated through our sensory input. Sensory is like all the five senses: eyes, ears, nose, touch, and taste, right? When these hindrances arise, they darken our awareness. Our conscious awareness gets darkened by all these things, right? Now what we need to do, practical steps. First, determination, right? This is like old fashioned determination, right? We have achieved so many things in our life, you know right from our studies to everything, just by being determined. Like I cleared my CA just by being determined that I have to clear this. So now that we are on this spiritual path, we have to just be determined that I will avoid the arising of these unwholesome states. Guard the sense doors, right? See, these actually sense doors, it's all about, if you say the Noble Eightfold Path is all about the seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, touch, right? If we guard all these things, then we will stop the unwholesome states. So what we are saying is not like we will just go away somewhere and we will leave the path of, we will leave our household duties. No, Buddha never said that. Buddha always have specific guidelines for householders as well, right? So important thing is that we will just become more aware that, okay, once if there is like someone gossiping, I hear someone's gossip and I get into it, then those seeds of ill will be watered. So better than I will avoid, I will do something else, I will distract myself, or I will walk away from the discussion, right? So we need to guard our sense doors, because through this only those dormant states, those dormant, the seeds, they arise. And third is mindfulness, right? Which is the next topic we will discuss. Practice more and more being mindful. What mindfulness does is that, so if there is an experience that you see, like gossip, right? So mind has a tendency of getting attached. The consciousness that we have, that gets attached to that sensory input that is received through hearing. What mindfulness does is that it acts like a guard. It's like you place a watchman in your office, or at your home, and you tell that watchman that, don't allow anyone and everyone to come, right? Just look at who is coming, just stop them, ask them. So this is what, when we become mindful, more and more mindful of everything in our life, we prevent. See, again, there are certain times if our mindfulness is not very strong, then there are intruders, right? So if my mindfulness is not very strong, I can still get attached to the gossip, because the seeds of gossiping are very strong in me, so I'll get attached. But the more my mindfulness is becoming strong, when I'm in that position, when the gossip is happening, I will be able to observe it, know it, that it will lead to suffering, it will create suffering for me only, and then I can step away, right? So three things we need to do. Now second is abandoning the unwholesome states. Now try as much as we can. We live in a world where all these things happen, the unwholesome states, anger, fear, all these things can appear. Now Buddha offers very, very practical solution what you need to do. So Buddha asks for right effort to be exerted to abandon, dispel, destroy, cause the states to disappear. How? Right? So Buddha suggests the following techniques. First, replacing the wrong thought with a wholesome thought. So you get an unwholesome thought of anger, replace the thought with forgiveness or generosity, or it can be general, like you get a thought about greed, replace it with like generosity. You get a thought about anxiety, replace it with a thought that everything is taken care of, right? Just surrender to what is right now. So somewhere do replace the thought, which is the exact opposite thought. For example, lust arises, then consider all women or men, mother or sister, right? Do something so that you can replace that lust with something else, right? So these are just ideas. Okay, call upon shame, dread, and reflect on consequences, right? So Buddha was very practical. Call upon shame, right? That, shame on me that I'm like thinking these things which have created so much suffering. And if I continue to create create these things, it will create more suffering for me. So you can call upon these things in your dread, right? And reflect on the consequences that doing this will result in doing that, right? Then certain state specific meditations. That means if you have a particular thing like uh, 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 like ill will, then there is a specific meditation. So I will discuss that in the next. So you can do those specific meditations. I have also given the links also. Then divert attention, right? Something else. If something is there, what the best thing, what I will suggest, and what I've told to a lot of people, and they've got such good results, is breathing, right? If you are anxious, and especially anxiety. So I have suffered from anxiety a lot in my life. I've even taken medication during my college years. So just divert your attention to the breathing, right? So this just you have a negative thought going on in your mind about any fear or anything. Just bring your attention to your belly and just focus on the in and out movement of the belly, right? Or you can just, no need to even bring the attention to the belly. If you do that, is actually good. You are setting an anchor, but just bring your attention to the in and out movement, or the in breath and the out breath, right? It generates the energy of mindfulness, right? And that energy then takes care of the energy of worry. You cannot directly fight the energy of the worry. Or you can read a book, or you can take a walk, do something else, do some creative work, artwork, right? For example, sexual thoughts, the best remedies, like said, that is that do something creative, right? Just divert your attention, right? So that is that. Then another approach is confront it directly as an object of meditation. This, I think, as a beginner, it is very difficult to do, right? Only I at least I will say that I practice this, that now that at least I have reached some level, it is easier for me. So when the negative uh, tendency arises in me, I actually look at it, right? I make it as an object of my meditation. So I don't enter into a meditation and close my eyes and no. I just make it an object and I look at it. This is arising in me. This has given me suffering. This is a suffering that is, I am the continuation of this suffering. So I just meditate on it. So when you do that, so it's like said, no, all the fears are only there till the time their identity is concealed. When you look at these unwholesome states and put your energy, put your mindfulness into these states, then they disappear. They can only exist till the time we do not look at them. That's why it is said that do not run away from your fears. Do not run away from your worries. See, let them be there. Just sit with them, observe them. So this is one more approach. So suffering, this is what I have learned from a lot of suffering that I've seen in my life, is that sitting with that suffering, recognizing it, allowing being with it. Now this requires some kind of a subtle sense. Your mind should be subtle enough to understand what I am saying here. And because if the mind is not still yet that much, then you will say, what is he saying? Sitting with the suffering and the recognizing of the suffering and all. So I was also like 10 years back or 5 years back also, if someone would have told, I would have said, this is what is this. But now I am realizing that this is what the approach we need to do. It's like making the manure from the garbage, right? Which Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas suffer too, but they make the manure from the garbage. They know how to transform the suffering. So we can do this. Last resort, what Buddha says is suppression, right? Suppression, what happens is, suppression is actually not a solution, right? Suppression means you are something, an anger which was there in your unconscious mind comes to your conscious mind, right? And then if you suppress it, again goes back to the unconscious mind, right? It will then again come up. But last resort, if it is not happening, Buddha's teaching was that let it not be part of your conscious mind. Because then what happens is anger, and then something else, and then something else, it all carries forward. So last thing is suppression. For example, like a strong person pins down a weaker man, that way you have to rise your strong this thing, determination, and pin down that weaker thought. Just suppress it, don't let it arise. In case of replacing the wrong thought, like fear of death, how will it replace with the exact opposite thought? Moreover, death is one of the noble truths of the Buddha. How can we aware? How can we overcome? See, again, when you say fear of death, what I will, so I cannot exactly think, I will have to just spend some time thinking about this, about what is the best way. But I will just, what just comes into my mind is impermanence, right? So there is a thought about fear of death, and then there is a thought about impermanence, right? Which is the also part of the noble truths, that everything is impermanent, right? Actually, we'll come to it later. It is one of the 3 marks of existence, that everything is impermanent. So if everything is impermanent, then where is the fear of death, right? Death and life we continue, right? So there is actually a specific meditation on impermanence that I'll discuss in the next slide. So we can, or you can do it as a specific meditation, that whenever the fear of death comes, just meditate, just think about impermanence, that everything is changing. Maybe that helps, right? But we'll have to figure out what helps. See, death is fine. What you are saying is, what your point is, that death is one of the 4 nobles. See, noble truth, what Buddha has given is suffering, that we suffer, right? Fear of death is again suffering. So as such, yes, fear of death is suffering. But if we want to come out of that fear of death, we need to exert the mindfulness. First of all, we need to look at this fear of death is right now arising in me without any judgment. Then we need to exert the effort in right direction. That means I can practice compassion, or I can meditate on impermanence, that everything is changing, right? Those things we can do, right? So I hope that answers a bit, right? Okay. Now we come to the specific meditations. Specific meditations, that means specific meditations with respect to the issue, right? For example, desire, which is a general desire about things, so there is a meditation on impermanence. I am also giving the links. Maybe I'll share in the Telegram channel, right? I will share in the Telegram channel some meditations. Some meditations are by Plum Village, some meditations are by some other masters. So these are specific meditations, like on impermanence you can do. Then sensual desires come. Then there is a meditation on unattractiveness of the body. This is actually very deep. Like, so you see a beautiful woman, or you see a beautiful man or handsome man, and then the desires come, and then you can actually start penetrating. You can actually start looking into piece by piece how the person is, the various organs, various things, the blood, the urine, lot of things. And then you realize that only the appearance is very good, right, as a whole. But then when you look at everything, then it is so. Then again, there is this thing about Buddha says that okay, that is something which is again a long thing. I will not discuss it here, otherwise we'll move into that something other. So that is, you can do meditation on unattractiveness of the body, right? Then ill will, if negative thoughts and all dominate your thinking. So this is something that we can all look into our lives, right? So yes, ill will has dominated my life to a certain extent, and we can do meditation on loving kindness, right? Compassion for all beings, right? So we have to find out what impacts us the most, and then we can do those meditations, right? Then dullness or drowsiness, here Buddha suggests something like visualizing of a big ball of light, doing some brisk mindful walking, making a firm determination, right? So I need to actually find out exact more on this, right? But these are some of the steps that he has suggested. Then restlessness, then we practice for restlessness or worry. The best antidote is practicing mindfulness of breathing, which is Anapanasati. I have also made videos or guided meditations on Anapanasati on my English channel as well as Hindi channel. And also there are guided meditation videos Lot of videos they are there. I myself practice Anapanasati daily, and it is magical, right? Okay, so these are specific meditations. And doubts, if there are doubts, this is again a hindrance. Make inquiries and study the teachings deeply. This is what Buddha suggests. There is no meditation as such, but make inquiries, study the teachings deeply. Okay, so I think I think this is right effort is has taken a lot of time today. So because right mindfulness is long, right? So what I will suggest is, let's keep this session today a bit less. It's around 7:40 now. So right mindfulness, because right mindfulness will again take some 35 40 minutes, and it requires a lot of dedicated effort to study. So we'll just close it here till the right effort. If you have any questions, please ask me. I can unmute you, or anyone has Aparna ji or R. Das Gupta ji, anyone has any questions? Maybe I am able to clarify certain things, or the Telegram group is also there. You can reflect during the week. If you have any questions, you can also post in the Telegram group. I will try to help to the best of my ability. Okay, then. So we'll close it here for today. And right mindfulness is a detailed topic, which we will take it next session, right? So that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.